Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we are going to be doing another video on how to build out this YouTube application. So a lot of you guys have been requesting for the feature of hiding the navigation bar whenever we slide our collection view up and down. And we are going to be doing that today and also implementing another feature. So let's first turn our attention to the simulator here. I'm going to show you this little feature we're going to implement where we slide the collection view down and then we slide it back up. The navigation bar hides and kind of unhides itself right there. So what is this second feature? And you see this little horizontal bar right beneath the menu bar here. As we click on any of these icons, we have a sliding little horizontal bar right there. And that's pretty cool. So if we have a little bit extra time today, I'm going to show you guys something else to improve how you guys code as well. So we'll see how I do on time for today. All right, so this is our current application. Let's go to Home Controller inside of Xcode now and start building out this sliding navigation bar. So here we go. This collection view slides up and down. Nothing too special about it yet. So let's implement the actual sliding feature. Now, let's see. The first thing I want to do is go to view to load here. And I actually want to get rid of this line because we have a title label already right here. And the X value for this title is actually really bothering me. So I'm going to give it 2 extra spaces to push it to the right just a little bit so that the gap matches the spacing for the left collection view there. Now, I want to do this. I want to create a function. Nope. That's not what I want to do. I want to command click into setup menu bar and show you how to make the sliding effect occur. So if we simply do this here, let's see. Actually, let's see. All right, so setup menu bar is right here. So command click. I'm going to set a value for navigation controller hides. Let's see, hides on swipe equals true. All right, and believe it or not, that's all you need to hide the navigation bar every time you swipe the collection view up and down. And that's pretty easy, right? But we have this little kind of artifact here where the menu bar is now being hidden underneath the status bar. So this is actually pretty tricky to solve, or the solution is very simple, but it took me a while to figure out how to exactly get it to hide underneath the status bar. So here's what we are going to do. First, we'll look at how this menu bar is being set up. On the second constraint here, we are constraining it to the top right there. And I'm going to remove that pipe and run the application again. And now we get a constraint of 50 pixels without the top bar constraint. So it's doing the exact same thing. And I'm going to now pin it to the very top of the view here. So the way to pin it to the very top is actually not to pin it to the view's top, but instead we'll pin it to something called a top layout guide. So I'm going to type this out, top layout guide, and it says here, indicates the highest vertical extent for your on-screen content for use with auto layout constraints. That's what that says. And it might be a little confusing, so I'm going to show you what to do with this top layout guide. First, we type in menu bar, and we'll say the menu bar's top anchor. So if you're using iOS 9, you can access something called a top anchor, and you can constrain it like this. Constraint equals anchor, top layout guide dot bottom anchor. You have to set this active equals true. This means that the constraint for this anchor is going to take into effect when you run your application. So we scroll up and down, and now this menu bar is tightly fitted right underneath the status bar. So the next question is, how do we solve this problem where we don't have this gap beneath the nav bar and the menu bar the moment you slide up and down this controller? In other words, you see how this has this very nice clean red right there, so you can't see behind the nav bar. And we want to achieve the same effect in this application as well. So first we will go back to setup menu bar, and I'll create a red view so that we can just hide it right here. and you'll see what will occur in just a few moments. So red view dot background color equals some kind of color that matches this red here. So I'm going to go to menu bar, grab this collection view background color for this red, and go back to home controller, set that to the red color. Now I'll add it to the subviews hierarchy with a add subview method call. Finally, I will have to set where the red view will lie inside of this entire view. And we do that very simply by saying add constraints with format. So a very nifty custom function that we created right there, and expand it fully from the left edge to the right edge, symbolized by those pipes. Red view there, and view.add constraints with format, specifying a vertical height of 50, and set this to red view, and run this application again. We will see the red view right behind the nav bar, and as we scroll, we no longer see the effect where there is a gap between the nav bar and the menu bar. Now that wasn't so bad, I hope. You just have to make sure you kind of understand that this top layout guide is actually the topmost portion of your view. Pretty tricky, pretty strange, but this is how you would do it. And now let's move on to, going back to this simulator, let's move on to creating this white slidey horizontal bar inside of our menu bar right here. So let's go to the menu bar file, and I'm going to go into this init function here. And right below, I am going to create a new function called setup horizontal bar. And let's just create this function right here, func setup bar. And here is what we are going to do. So I'm going to go back into my app, and I just want to simply add a bar that is the size of one of these cells here. So each of these cells take up 1/4 of the entire view's width. And I'm going to do that with this horizontal bar view right here. Horizontal, I can type it correctly, horizontal bar view equals Uiview. And let's just scroll down a little bit. Let's see, a horizontal bar view dot background color equals this UI color. Let's just give it a whitish color, 0.9. And we will add it to the subview hierarchy like this. So add subview, horizontal bar view. And the reason why we can just call it add subview is because this entire menu bar is a UI view itself. So what do we need to do now? Let's see, how can I explain this? Basically, I want to actually add this as a constraint instead of using a CG rect. So frame equals some kind of CG rect is how you would do it back in the day. So this is the old school frame way of doing things. And we don't usually do this anymore. So we'll use the new school. So new school way of laying out our views. And this is how you do it in iOS 9. Okay. First, we will do this. First, we need X, Y. So X, Y, width, and height constraints. That is what we need. So what I mean is I want to know where it should be placed in terms of the X coordinate. And the X coordinate is accessed by calling horizontal bar view dot left anchor. And we just constrain it to self dot left anchor. This means that it'll match the exact left anchor of this entire menu bar view. And then we'll say, let's look for the Y value right here. So Y value is the bottom anchor for this horizontal bar view. And we can constrain it to self.bottom anchor. So that gives me the bottom edge right there. Now we will need the width anchor like that. And the width anchor is quite simple as well. So we're going to constrain it to this anchor right here. So that gives us an anchor and a multiplier. And the anchor will be self.width anchor. And the multiplier will be, 1/4 for 1/4 of the entire width. And now we get the height of the horizontal bar by specifying a constraint to constant right here of, let's just use a value of 4 or perhaps 8, doesn't matter, but that's just how tall the view will be. Now, if I run this application, nothing is going to show up because we haven't set up a couple of properties on these this view here. So we don't see that horizontal bar yet because we need to set translates auto mask into constraints equals to false. Pretty annoying property. I really wish Apple turns this to default false someday, just for me. And the other property we need to set is active equals true for all of these anchor constraints. I'm going to copy that, paste that there, there, and there. So I'm going to run this application now. Here we go. We get this really tall grayish bar there. So I'm going to shrink that down to perhaps 4 and bump up the white by 5. And that's the bar which we want to animate like this here. So how do we actually animate this bar? Well, we do that by implementing a function called did select item at index path. So I'm going to print out index path dot item every time I select one of these menu icons inside of our app. So I'm going to select this here, and we get 1, we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 0. And that's how we get the index of our icon selected. So we're going to use that value right here. Okay, so let's see, how do we want to do this? Well, we first need to know what the X value of this new bar will be every time we click on one of these icons. And it's basically the value let X equals index path item dot item times frame dot width right here. So that's what we need. And there's a type mismatch here because this is an integer, and we'll just cast this as a CG float like that. And now we are okay with the X value of this bar, right? So how do we set this X value of this bar now that we've set it up with these kind of newish constraints here? So this is pretty simple as well, as long as you know how to do it. I am going to modify this left anchor right here by actually capturing the reference of the constraint. So we can just cut this here, and we can get a reference to it if we just set, let horizontal bar left anchor constraint equals this entire thing that I just cut out of the code. And I can say horizontal bar left anchor constraint active equals true. And if I run this, we get the exact same thing where the bar is laid out on the left edge. So just like that. And now we can actually capture this reference as a class property up here by saying var horizontal bar left anchor constraint is a type of NS layout constraint, like that, optional. And here we will need to, let's see, remove this let. So this is actually this for now. And here we need to specify a question mark to access this optional property right there. So now that we have this reference accessible within this did select item at index path property or method, we can just simply say, let's see, let me build this here. And then we can actually access this constant property on that constraint and just set it equal to X. Like so. And let's see what that gives us. Okay, so fingers crossed, we get nothing happening here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what this X value is inside of our property. So we get that, and we get our anchor equals this anchor, and X is actually the wrong value. So instead of using a width, we have to actually divide it by 4 like that. And then the X value will be correctly multiplied by 1/4 of the entire width. So we click there, and that's how we get the bar to locate itself right underneath the icon. So pretty good stuff there. And finally, how do we animate the bar over whenever we select the icon like that? So basically this bar needs to animate over. And as a matter of fact, that is quite simple as well. We simply need to say Uiview Animate with duration. Let's just use this for now. Let's just use 0.75 for the duration, hit enter for there, and call self.layout if needed. Now, you probably don't think that this is all the magic that it takes to animate, but here you go. We get the animation of this little small horizontal bar nicely animating into the icons. So how do we make this animation a little faster and a little bit more easy on the eyes is the question. And very simply by calling Uiview Animate. So I'm going to use this spring damping animation here. Duration of same 0.75, delay of 0, spring damping of 1, spring velocity 1. This will say curve ease out, and animations will hit enter, self.layout if needed, just like before, and completion will be nil. So remove that and run the application. We'll get an animation curve that has a curve ease out type of animation style, and the bar flows into the icon rather smoothly, like that. Okay, that's about it on how you animate this horizontal bar. And let's see, how am I doing on time here? Okay, seeing that I do have a couple of minutes to spare here, let's go back to home controller, and I want to take a look at this whole entire comment block by removing it. And I am going to talk about completion blocks for just a little bit here. Now, inside of fetch videos, we get this JSON in this return here, and then we parse all of these videos into this videos array, and then we append it to that array, and then we call it reload. So all of this code, just to fetch videos, doesn't necessarily belong inside of home controller, and it actually really belongs inside of a different type of class, not an MVC class, but something else that I'll just call an API service class. So I'm going to make an API service group. Inside of there, I will create a let's see, Cocoa Touch class NS object subclass and call it API service. I'm just going to enter there. And inside of here, I will just create a class variable called static let shared instance. So this is a kind of singleton programming style right here, and just you call it shared instance of API service and create a new instance. Inside of here, I'll create this fetch videos function right here. So what belongs inside of this fetch videos? Well, essentially, I'm going to go back to home controller. I'm going to take all of this code that doesn't belong inside of home controller. So I'm going to cut all of that. And I'm going to go back to the API service, paste it all in this function here. Let's just hide that down there for now. And this is actually where all of the fetching of our videos really belongs. So the couple of errors that I get here is this here. So I don't have access to collection views, so I'm going to remove that. And I also don't have access to self videos, which was the class property right here. So what do I do? Well, I am actually going to use a completion block inside of this function. In other words, I will call completion with a parameter of, let's see, parameter of an array of videos like that. And inside of here, I will just end the completion with a void value right there. So this needs to be video. And here we go. So a completion block works like this. When we specify a parameter inside of the first parentheses, we actually need to call the completion block like this. So we need to call completion with an array of videos. So we need to call it with an array of videos like that. So this is going to have a compiler warning because videos doesn't exist. So I'm going to say var videos for this array here. And then in here, I'll just use this videos array as we append all of these videos into this object. So finally, completion down here is calling this this completion block up here with the parameter of videos that is being parsed out from this entire JSON return. So that's just a kind of a minorish detail in terms of fetching data. Really helps you clean out your code inside of Home Controller, because fetching, I guess, function calls that fetch data really does not belong inside of your controller file. So how do we use this API service now that we have this fetch videos function? Well, inside of fetch videos inside of Home Controller, which is being called here in View.Load, we will just build a project first and call API service shared instance, and we call fetch videos with this completion block, and we can now hit enter here, and we get a videos array like this, and we can optionally specify the object like this video. And here is what we do now. So instead of doing all the fetch inside of the code previously, we'll just simply set videos equal this videos array that's being returned from the completion block. And now we can call self collection view dot reload data. So I'm gonna run this application now, and we'll get the exact same return from the JSON objects, and our table loads up just as it did before, but instead of having all the code inside of Home Controller, it's now tightly packed away inside of this API service class, which has a kind of a singleton object called a shared instance. And Home Controller, if you can see, is a lot cleaner now. It doesn't include all that fetch code. All right, and that about wraps it up for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed the content in this video. Make sure to hit the like button if you did, and also go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to stay connected with the community here. All right, stay tuned for the next episode, guys, where I teach you how to implement a feature that allows your user to swipe left to right from section to section. Now, this is a really cool feature, so I hope you guys are excited about that. And finally, you can download the project by clicking the link on the screen. You can follow me on Twitter at BuildThatApp. And also, if you're interested in learning more about iOS development, you can click on the following 3 links on the screen to go directly to the playlist on my YouTube channel. That's about it, guys. Keep on coding, and I'll see you next time.